Welcome back, everybody. With the completion of the Bloody Vampire arc, we're moving into a more profitable arc for the season, the Corporate War. Now, in this Corporate War, we're seeing the beginnings of Mitsugushi, who's backed by the Shadow Garden, going up against the Alliance Corporation that's being backed by the Cult of Diablo. And we're getting to see the beginning of these two forces finally collide. Something interesting is taking place during this episode. Shadow, instead of taking on his typical role of backing up everything that Shadow Garden does or being the savior at the last moment, he's taking a more devious route. So, Shadow has met up with Yukime of the White Tower from the Lawless City, and they're hatching a bit of a scheme to pretty much bankrupt the entire economic system and get very rich off of it. Now, Shadow's reasoning for this is twofold. First, well, he wants money. He's broke as heck and he sees this as a good way to get money. He's a little bit petty like that. And second, he recognizes that Mitsugushi, their sudden rise to prominence in the capital city, has made everybody from the small businessman to the large corporation their enemy, and it's only a matter of time until they get brought low. Now, the way that he's going to do this is that they're going to use what has just been invented, the paper money, the credit system. The illusion that if you have paper money, you actually have value, kind of like today, kind of like what happened back in the 1930s when the massive market crash happened. That's kind of the scheme that they're going here, is that they're going to flood the market with a massive amount of fake money, and just before everyone realizes that their money is worthless, Shadow and Yukime are going to dive in and take all the profits, and then the whole system is going to collapse. And with it collapse, Shadow will rebuild Mitsugushi from the ground up and bring all the girls from Shadow Garden onto his payroll. At least that's his initial plan. Now, for Yukime the White Fox, she says she cares about the money, but her motives are actually ulterior to the profits. She's actually aiming for the Cult of Diablo member who's running the Alliance Corporation. Apparently, she has some massive vendetta against him, and we're going to get to see how that plays out through the rest of this arc. Now, we're just seeing the beginning of this, so not too much happens in this episode, except for Shadow picks up Delta, who's a Therinthrope, that kind of like wolf girl anime character that's going to help them around. Apparently, they're very brutal creatures, and very few of them are actually intelligent, like Yukime the White, so they're mostly just known as barbarians. Now, what Shadow and Delta are doing is they're hitting up Alliance corporate outposts and just raiding them and stealing their money and all that, just to help move the war along. Now, once they're raiding it, they come across apparently Delta's brother, who knows her as Sasha before she was possessed and became a member of Shadow Garden. Now, her brother is trying to convince her to come join the Corporate Alliance because that's who he works for, and, well, he doesn't meet a kind fate. She just stabs him right through the chest with her tail. Now, Shadow's like, well, why did you do that? Are you sure you wanted to kill your brother? And she's like, oh, my dad has thousands of kids with hundreds of different women, so only the strong survive in our clan. So really reinforcing the idea that Therinthropes are just more of a brutal society, especially if they have thousands of kids, so she's probably not going to miss a single brother. Now, he was a member of the Four Clovers, which is an elite group that works for the Corporate Alliance, and seeing that he has died, the head honcho of the Corporate Alliance is like, okay, we gotta wipe out Mitsugushi, so he sends out the remaining three to take him down. Now, that's where we leave this episode and moving into the next one. So it's going to be fun to get into all the ins and outs in the next episode, so I'm looking forward to that. Now, I thought this was a good episode. A little bit of a lull. I'll probably give it a 6.5, maybe a 7, just because there's not a whole lot happens here. We get a little bit of world building with the Therinthropes. We get a little more of an interesting dynamic character going on with Shadow, but it's mostly just his pettiness coming through and his desire for money. I mean, he could have just asked the girls, like, hey, you mind giving me some money as well? Like, I need a little bit of, like, the Shadow Eminence corporate allowance or something like that. But, I mean, I get it. You don't want the girls to know that you're a vagabond. Also, he kind of still doesn't believe, like, they're a real organization. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me because, like, in one sense, he's like, oh, the girls are just playing with me. And then in another, he acts like the organization's real. So, kind of maybe I'm just the one who's wrong here and just not understanding what's all that going on with Shadow. But it sounds like he has a little bit of I don't want to say split personality, maybe a little bit of a misunderstanding of what the world is. Like, the girls will like to brag that he's a genius when actually he's just a simpleton and he just gets super lucky that the world just works for him. It just works. Like, there's so many things in that world that when you see him, you're like, wait, but that doesn't add up. How how does this work? And it just works out okay for him. So I kind of agree with the theory with people have that Shadow is kind of like this omnipotent being in that universe, that the world just works around him and just works to what his desire is. Actually, take that back. If you guys have ever seen or read The Wheel of Time, and there's a thing called Taviran in it, where the world just works around them. So I kind of think that's what he is. He's just a Taviran. There we go. I'll go with that. Anyway, sorry for the long tangent. I think the episode's pretty good overall. I enjoyed seeing the raids on the Corporate Alliance. I like to see a little bit of corporate war going on, and that Shadow is getting a little bit of a different role that's opposed to Shadow Garden versus being their superhero savior all the time. So I like that dynamic that they have going on there. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, take care now. Bye.